Hey Eric, did you say something?
Yeah, you're not coming out clearly, Eric. Maybe you're very far from the microphone.
It shows me audio feedback in the little uh, UI, but no, I was just saying hello to
Oh, hey,
conversation.
okay.
Oh,
Now
oh, he's
now
not
we can
hearing me.
hear you. Yeah. Okay, I think we can get started, I believe. Yeah. All right. Folks, welcome. This is the ITF DMM working group. I'm Sri Gandavelli, and with me is Satoru-san. Eric, our AD director, Eric is also there. Okay, so the agenda for today. See, I think before that, I think some few things we need to take care of. One is the IPR rights. I hope we are able to see the slides on the ITF's position on the IPR declarations and the general rules. And this is the Notewell statement. We are running ITF meetings are held in certain rules and regulations. These are documented in these specific documents. And a few other things. You don't need to take care of blue sheets anymore. There's a virtual meeting. So that's of note takers. Any note takers? Anybody willing to take notes? Please post a note. Please write something. Folks, any note
Any
takers?
volunteer?
How do they respond? They'll write somewhere in the chat window, I guess, right? Carlos, Alex, anybody? I just want to make sure they don't know how to respond, or is it nobody's interested? Okay, Pablo, thank you. Okay, Pablo is there not any other one more person, please? Thanks, Pablo.
Thank you.
We need, yeah, we need one more note taker, please. All right, we can get started. Okay, thanks, Pablo, for that. And now a few things. I think our last ITF meeting was ITF 106. 107 was cancelled. 108 we did not schedule it. So between 106 and now, I think a few updates. The key things is I think the distributed mobility anchoring draft is published as RFC 8818. Congrats to the authors. I think it was in the queue for a long time, but it had to go through several revisions and even rewrite. So, but thanks for all the efforts, all the authors. And also, PMV6 extensions for DMM is also published as an RFC 8885. Thanks again to the authors. I think so. That's the key update. And now on the working group documents, I think we have the user plane protocol and architecture analysis document. That's it's coming out pretty good. That's in a great shape in general. I think last time I believe the authors were not ready for the last call, or at least I thought. But now we should probably in the next now it should be able to move forward. The other document is segment routing SRv6, the mobile user plane. This one, there was a dependency on the Spring document. I think now those dependencies are getting cleared, and I think now we should be able to take this forward. I think there are two other documents related to FPC. I think this one, there hasn't been much progress. Charlie and Lyle, two of the key authors, are not active, and Charlie retired. So we are having a few issues on this one. We did talk to our area director, Eric, on this, right? We promised to show some activity on this, but that did not happen. So for now, we have not made any decision on this yet, but we want some more time to reach out to Charlie and Lyle and finally make a decision. But it's so sad. The document is almost done. It's just that one last push. I think that's one. In fact, all we need is just publishing the document, a new revision, and somebody willing to address any comments through the IESG process. But I think a tremendous amount of efforts went into this document. I think that's it will be unfortunate if we leave it out here, but let's see what comes up. Now, this is where we are with respect to the working group documents, right? I think now today's topics, I think there are updates on the two working group documents and two other new topics, and also there is a rechartering discussion. We'd like to discuss that at the end of the presentations. Like to see, I think overall this working group is charted to do two things. I think overall, what are the topics that we initially thought we do for the distributed mobility management, that we are somewhat getting closer to completion, right? The SRv6 work is a major thing that's left out, but at least the other documents are done. And we also are charted to support any mobile IPv6 PMV6 extensions as an ongoing process. That was the agreement when we formed the working group. So that is there. But overall, for the near topics, we'd like to have see some interest. I think more. Last, I think few months we have been the terribly really bad actually with respect to working group activity. I think it's more than the participants, even the chairs, we were not active. I think it's a perfect example as how not to run an IETA working group. But I think hopefully, I think if we bring some focus back and with some new topics, and if there's proper interest, we want to take it forward. At least that's the goal. And with that, I think today's topics, first topics is the transport network available mobility for 5G. Uma is going to present this. Uma, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, let me share. I think 1 second. I'm trying to see what's the best way to show you. I guess let me go to the folder. Meeting material. You can see this, or probably you're still seeing the.
I think the 5G use plane analysis forks have some slide.
Okay, you're able to see the slide? That's what you see?
I can see today's presentation, but I
don't see the slides.
Okay, 1 second. Just let me make sure. Okay. just
No.
let me stop this. Okay, I stop screening. Let me go to folder. Let me open the local copy and then share one second. Uma, you can see it now. Hello.
Hi, Shri. I couldn't see your slides. You want me to present myself?
Yeah, go ahead. Actually, that works.
So, first, Sri, I'm not sure how to. You have to give control to me, or how is it?
Yeah, let's 1 second. Just.
Okay, cool. Now I can see it. Your screen.
Susan,
Cool.
did you see something? I couldn't hear.
No. Okay. Yeah. Let's. All right. Okay. Please go ahead. Uma?
Again, it's a blank screen. It's a black screen now. Okay, yeah. Good. First slide. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe I can go to slide. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about. Hi, this is Uma. I'm going to talk about transport network aware mobility for 5G. And just to give a recap, so I'm going to talk mostly about the updates that have been done last 2 months. But to give a recap for the people who were not there earlier, so release 15, 23.501.50 to specify 5G architecture and various mobility procedures for UE, which covers 4G case SSC mode 1 and mode 2, mode 3, which are specific to 5G, right? So make before create in SSC 3. But the problems are, so these there's no transport network awareness in these scenarios, right? So if they care about RAN, their radio access network and the core network, but the transport network is not factored. So why this has to be factored? Because some of the use cases where AR, VR, or 5G vehicular network cases, the transport network end-to-end SLA guarantees transport network need to be factored both on F1U and N3 and interfaces. So it is difficult to, the current approach, it's difficult to provide SLA guarantees end-to-end. So this framework addresses that aspect. And the second thing is there's an underspecified mapping function from 3GPP PDU sessions to the network underlay paths. It could be any underlay, it's not specific to particular underlay like RSVPT, SR, or any versions of SR. But there is no underlying mapping function. So this has to be defined because when the mobility happens from UE, it has to be uniformly configured across the network. So this aspect also has been addressed in this draft. Next slide, please.
Yeah.
Okay, so this draft was first presented in July 2018, IETF 102 in Montreal. This mobility function aware underlying transport has been defined here, and mapping to various underlying transport technologies. Initially, like, we laid out a lot of stuff. Also, we talked about Lisp and other technologies at the time, 2018. We're talking about ILA-based mobility and other scenarios, but we eventually in November 2001, we just focused on the specific two aspects, that is how the framework can be defined and how the underlay transport mapping can be defined. So these two aspects we boiled on in November 2018. Both in N3 N9 interfaces we started. N9 is the new interface in 5G. How the cost is being carried in both these interfaces has been defined. missing transport network related items like slice selection and integrated approach. There are two approaches as defined in a backward compatible way in 4G deployments, which addresses the 4G deployments, and eventually which can be migrated to 5G. Both cases have been defined in section 2.2 and eventually section 3, some updates as per comments received from the list and offline. In 2009, IETF 105, we got a lot of feedback time in 105 time. So we have contributions from Altiostar, who are working on the RAN side mostly, and Nokia, Future Wireless and InterDigital folks. So they have a lot of discussion, there are a lot of contributions. So their content have been added, and as a co-authors have been all set as co-authors. And that time we were not ready with the draft because we couldn't come up with a unified approach. So there were two solutions set for the time in 04 version. Next slide, please. So eventually these two solutions got harmonized in 05, simplified solution approach, and we left with the one outstanding issue, how to carry the transport network context identifier in the packet. So we don't want to specify anything SRv6 specific because the network, some parts of the network may not use SR at all. Some layer 2 network. So we have a lot of ideas from the working group at that time. So finally, eventually, we settled out with one option, which is neutral to traffic engineering in the transport. So we also added further refinements in 06 by John, and all the updates and some of the comments received in the list, some of comments received on the November 2000 Singapore meeting has been presented in the list. Next slide, please. So recent comment summary. So sorry, unfortunately, we couldn't present last two sessions because there's no DMM session, and also we're also not active with various other things that were happening. So unfortunately, we couldn't progress further. But when we asked 2 months back, Chase asked to discuss in the working group, and we mentioned it, and couple of folks responded with a couple of comments. One comment is from Pablo related to simplifying section 3 and appendix, which is the new mobility scenarios with the TE mechanism PPR. Second comment is additional ranges. Kaushik wants to extend this to SD-WAN scenario for enterprise 5G use cases they're working on. So they wanted to extend this to end-to-end scenario where your session termination is not happening on the edge, rather than on the cloud, right? So in this case, end-to-end SLAs, they want SD-WAN extensions, they want security to be added to the ranges, some of the ranges defined in the draft. Finally, a couple of comments related to inconsistent descriptions and missed items have been also asked by Kaushik, and these are the summary of the comments. Okay, so what we changed in 08. So the last region, so the main section is from Pablo to take care of the Pablo's comments. We just simplified section 3 and just to show the applicability of the framework to the different underlays. This is not meant to be exhaustive underlays, like we discussed a couple of underlays how this can be done. So this similarly, any new underlay transport mechanism can be used with this framework in the mobility domain. Similarly, Appendix B, which is related to SSC modes, various mobility scenarios have been described, and that Pablo asked to remove that into a separate section because that is mostly focused on PPR, how that can be done. So this all been moved to a different draft PPR, and that is appropriately referenced in various parts of this draft. Unfortunately, both the drafts are uploaded on the same day. I could not add the reference into this draft. So unfortunately I couldn't do that. So that's one thing, that's the last thing that's pending on this. Yes, and other ranges, as Kaushik asked, we added the text to define the additional ranges for the security with slicing. Like some slices, they want security as a key parameter. So this is in addition to what happens from the G-node emits the packet with IPsec. In cases where it cannot be done, this can be done in the pinging node in front of it. And the comments are also this. Next slide. I think we were ready from other point of view on the comment side from 06 version itself, but unfortunately we couldn't follow up as I specified earlier. So Current version is explained address further comments received last month and that's been all addressed. So we feel from other side we wanted to ask for working group adoption and want to continue this work based on the amount of efforts that have been already done on this.
Okay, thanks, Ma. So any questions, comments?
Hi, Pablo, go ahead.
Yeah, Pablo, go ahead.
Do you hear me?
You unmute yourself. Okay, let me unmute. Yeah, okay. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so first, many thanks to Uma, the authors, for all the work on this document and improving significantly the document since the last revision. I do have 2 comments. So the first comment is a bit on the scalability in section 2.3. And basically you say that an MTNC represents a slice with a given QoS configuration and a transport path in between 2 particular 3GPP UPF. And so basically what you say is that in section 2.2 you say that the MTNC idea space is actually a scaling square to number of sites, and with 65,000 identifiers, so with 16 bits is enough. Now the question that I have for you is that if I do the math, if you have 3 traffic classes and 200 UPFs, for example, you have already burned all of these 16-bit idea space. And the question that I have for you is, have you considered decoupling the slice ID from the path ID? Because to me, it seems like you could really only, one way that you can improve scalability is just by encoding an identifier for the slice instead of an identifier for the slice in combination with the path.
Pablo, I think you are breaking up, but what I'm understanding, I just want to let me repeat what I'm understanding. So you're saying that identifier space is not enough with MTNC ID defined here with number of UPFs. That's what you're saying?
So I'm saying that, yes, I think it is not enough. And my question is, why don't you decouple the slice from the path ID?
Oh, no. Okay. So path ID, you don't have to, so see, you don't have to, it's not coupled at all, right? So what is done is when the packet is emitted from GNP or UPF, the source ports are representative of the information, SST information. So that information, you can use it in the PE to configure a policy. If you are using SR-V6 or SR-MPLS, whatever the technology you use underlying, use a configuration policy in the ingress node and use those ports to map it. So there's not directly with path ID, no. So if you have a path ID, you can manage it better, but it's not required. You can manage it better from management plane. You can manage it better, but it's not essential.
Okay, so then just to confirm, the MTNC idea space is independent from the number of UPFs you have then, right?
Correct, that's correct. But there was in section, I forgot the section, there was a calculation John has done, the typical scenario, how many required and how this is justified. There was a text based on that, and you can see that if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer there. But that discussion has been done in one of the versions, and we added specifically text for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, Hanu is next. Hanu, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hanu, yes, go ahead.
Just checking this, that observation that in this work group, they are working on network slices and they have also the framework. This looks fitting into that, but I think later on when you develop further this, it would be good to have in line what the TS working group is doing. Otherwise, we are just adding more confusion here.
Okay, so I can take this. Somebody commented on this and the working group also in the mailing list. So yes, this work has been started for almost 1.5 years before TS working group is done. Started. I think TS working group, I'm following this closely, what TS working group is doing, both the framework document, the definition document. they are not specifically targeting, of course, the 3GPP use case is there, but it is a more generic framework, IETF slice, what is IETF slice and what is required. But we are talking about two points that's being addressed in this draft is a little bit orthogonal, but only thing common is eventually once the ANG models are defined there, if working group accepts this draft, we can extend that whatever the framework they come up with, we can extend whatever the mapping scenarios we're creating here, we can add it there. We are not conflicting with what they are generically proposing. If you have any particular comment, if you think we are conflicting anything, I'll definitely take your comment seriously and take up into it.
Okay,
But I
I
see
will double check. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I think thanks for this. So Umar, did you present this in other working groups like transport or any other groups?
Way back we presented, I'm not remembering. No, we only presented in DMM. We thought of presenting. No, I think TS working group, John has presented, I believe. Oh, no, wait a minute. Yeah, John has presented in TS working group in a different format. Oh, yeah, now I remember. So John has one contribution in last year. So he was presenting in TS, but rather than it's mostly 3GPP specific. So he merged that portion, that part of the draft into this draft. So yes, it's kind of presented in TS by John. Yeah.
All right. Okay, I think yeah, where we'll get the work done, probably that's a separate discussion. But in general, I just I think it's good to get some feedback from other groups as well, right? So I think you are suggesting, authors are suggesting we issue an adoption call. Is that what the ask is? Or
Yes, that's what we're asking based on the effort that has been undergone and the consensus we have on this document. So I think this is the good starting point for further progressing the work. We feel.
Okay. So maybe let's do a quick poll on like how many people have read the draft. Satadasan, can you issue a poll, do you think, please?
Sure.
Show of hands tool. Okay, John is saying he presented only in DMM. Okay. Okay. So 8 people have read the 9. Okay.
9 hours. Exactly.
All right. About 50 people have read the draft, right? All right. Okay. So we will discuss with Eric and the mailer will issue an adoption.
Okay, thanks, Sri.
Thank you.
Satara.
Okay. The next, which one is it? So the next one. So can we go to the service 6? Mia, can you do it?
I can see the queue.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, and shall I?
Yeah, if you can share that will be fine. Yeah, that's fine. Please go ahead.
Okay. So do you see my screen now?
I don't see it.
Oh, yeah.
Hello. Do you
No,
see
I
my
don't
screen?
think all right, let me try to share.
During the preparation, I think we can have a voice from Tochio-san in the queue.
Oh, weird. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. Okay. Yeah, please go.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So,
So you,
okay.
so who is present?
Mia, I think.
Mia?
Mia-san, please.
Yes. So still, I cannot share my screen.
Okay. Let me see if I can do that. That's fine. That's just one second. It's not giving me to share any. So can you try this? This is, So I'm trying to show it says the request is not allowed by the user agent of the platform, the current context. What is the context?
Okay, then I will share.
Okay, I'm right now. Can you try now?
How about now? Do you see the screen?
No, I don't.
No. Hmm.
Interview.
The screen should be started. I think something is happening, but it's not coming up.
Mm. No, it says permission error.
Hmm.
Oh, we already permission.
Mm.
Okay.
I think it could be the macOS restriction,
Ah,
perhaps.
So you need to do permissions here. Oh, okay. So,
mm.
how about you? Can you try?
Let me try.
You should be started. But nothing.
Okay, yes. I checked the privacy, but there's no.
Okay, yes.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry for taking time. Thank you very much. So thank you for your time. This draft discusses the architectural implication to supplement the SRv6 mobile user plane draft, which is DMM working group document. So agenda is so we revisited the objective of the draft, and then architectural discussion, and then we are discussing about the exemplification of network slicing, edge computing, and URLLC. So next slide, please. So we have revisited the objective of this draft, and basically this document discusses a solution approach and its architectural benefits of common data plane across domains, which includes UE, IP transport, data center applications, and across overlay and array. So this approach may be, in a sense, contrary to proposals that the underlying transport can be anything. But it is an approach to make the network as flat as possible and making it more suitable for the distributed mobile deployment model. Next page, please. So the diagram shows a typical example of the mobile network. So GTP session from UE to mobile anchor, UPF in this diagram. And MPLS or segment routing is used in the transport network, and VXLAN or Genève or whatever for segmentation in data center. And the VLAN ID is used as a correlating ID. And NAT firewall is used for the address conversion and perimeter security. Next slide, please. And this architecture had some limitations. So this tunnel-based architecture is not optimized for edge or distributed computing. And GTP session termination could be a scaling bottleneck. And it's also not optimized for any-to-any communication. And the security model is perimeter security. Next slide, please. For future distributed mobile network, where access is heterogeneous and data is spread ubiquitously by multi-cloud or distributed edge cloud, the architecture need to change. Oops. We use this. Right.
What happens? We don't see it. So does some. System.
So take a moment.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry for the trouble. Thank you. So for the future distributed mobile network, access should be more heterogeneous. Next slide. Yeah, this one. So access should be heterogeneous and data should be spread ubiquitously by multi-cloud or distributed edge cloud. So we are aiming more simple flat architecture by commonalize data plane across domain and overlay and array. Next page, please. So as some example for applicability of 5G mobile network, so the one is network slicing. So basically, flat network can eliminate PEC hierarchy. So the current issue that is that certain extra ID, like VLAN ID, is needed for segregating traffic and mapping it onto a designated slice. And the PE and PEC connection is a single point of failure, so some form of PE redundancy is required. But if UPF or mobile anchor can belong to IP network, it can directly interact with network slices and or make applications, multi-access edge computing applications. By the way, it does not mean we must eliminate PEC hierarchy. We can still have domain boundary or a PEC hierarchy depending on the network design. But to flatten the network could have some advantages. Next page, please. And for edge computing, edge or distributed computing needs application framework. And data plane need to be simple and should be easily implemented in compute stack so that application can interact with the data plane easily. Next page, please. And for URLLC, 3GPP TR23725, section 6.4, addresses the issue on how to support redundant data transmission via single UPF and single LAN node. But overlay tunnel cannot ensure the disjoint path. Also, the replication and merging point would be the single point of failure. In this context as well, SRv6 is simpler to support type SLA and URLLC. Furthermore, SRv6 supports in-band telemetry or time stamping for latency monitoring and control. So it could be a big advantage in terms of monitoring and controlling the latency. Next slide, please. So this document discussed solution approach with SRv6 and its architectural benefits of common data plane across domains and across overlay and array. And we believe that this approach makes the network as flat as possible and enable distributed mobile deployment, which has advantages for major 5G requirements like network slicing, edge computing, and URLLC. So this proposes the data plane will be more simple and flat, and we'd like to ask DMM working group to adopt this document. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mia. So I think we don't have enough time to have any questions on this one, but we can now some discussions on the mailing list and then go for an option. Okay. Next questions on. Are you there? let's see. Start. Yeah. So do we stop sharing or so does one want to share the next? I know a few folks are in the queue, but we want to run the next presentation and unfortunately we don't have enough time. Uma, Carlos, we may have to do something. Yes, sorry about that.
So can I ask a quick question, Sri, or no? I don't know.
Yeah, quick 20 seconds, please. While you
Okay,
bring-
so I think the last slide shows about both overlay and underlay, right? So I think it's a good summary of various heuristics can be used. But I think I didn't understand the relation between the overlay and underlay case, right? So overlay is the GTP. So is it referring to the Sutaro's draft where overlay can be removed with SRv6, or it's focusing on only on the underlay part? I think from the last slide it shows that both are overlay and underlay. Oh, you're saying about
Wait,
overlay, GTP overlay or regular? I just want to be clear on that one.
Go ahead, Mia.
Network capability could be used for controlling the overlay as well.
Okay, so that is the Satoru's draft, right? I think that's working with
Yes.
draft, where GTP can be replaced with SRv6.
Yeah, can be.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Hanu, Carlos, let's do a follow-up on the emails, please. All right. Next.
Let me add something. Mobile user plane by SRv6 is kind of the alternative, and not to be replaced to the GTP. It's one of the candidates to provide the choice for the operator to use whether the mobile user plane is GTP or SRv6.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, I can.
So I am the presenter queue just to be able to share my screen. Can you give me access to share my screen? Because I'm next, right, on the agenda?
Yeah, I don't know. Following, let's come to Shinsuke-san and then we go to you, Carlos. Is it okay?
Okay.
I mean, you have a comment?
Satoru-san, and then the Shinsuke-san.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. So I'm wondering this statement of common data plane across domains and application interaction. The application interaction is the intention now that the applications are part of the routing fabric, so that the applications are also involved in distribution of segment identifiers.
Fortunately, this could be your voice break up. Difficult to catch.
Okay, I try to simplify the question. How are applications interacting with this common data plane? Are they part of the routing or not?
I understand the question. How the application can interact with the
Yes.
common data frame.
Yes.
Yes. So the application needs some framework or programming framework or programming platform, and such platform need to support the data plane. And if the data plane is supported by the compute stack, then it becomes easier to be the application platform. That's what I meant.
I need to cut the line here. We don't have enough time for this. So can you go to the next presentation? Hanu, yeah, request to be please do it on now. Maybe yes, please. Shinsuke-san, I don't hear that name is not there. Carlos, go next then.
Yeah, if you can let me share my screen, I can present. Can I share the screen myself or not?
Yeah, thanks. Carlos, please.
But can I share my screen?
Sadhu is sharing.
Okay, what? Okay. Okay, perfect. So I'm Carlos Bernardos from UC3M, and I'm going to present this draft for the first time in DMM. I tried to be brief because my goal is to basically present some ideas, general ideas, and to see whether there is interest in working in these kind of topics. So the main motivation for this is to work in control solutions for mobility management in distributed SFCs, well, in SFCs, in service function chains, where in SFC, you know that there is a working group in ATF working on different mechanisms for service function chaining and control mechanisms for SFC were not there in scope in SFC. So they didn't define control mechanisms yet, but I believe that is an interesting topic and mechanisms that are required. And in particular, there are some points regarding mobility of functions, migration of functions within an SFC that I believe could leverage from using or reusing or extending mobility protocols as the ones defined and maintained in DMM. So in the picture, I have just one example of architecture. So even though I'm going to use terminology about pseudo controllers and central controllers, this is just an example. So the idea is that we have an SFC, so a function, service function chain. We have different nodes here, UEs and a G-node B, and we may have an infrastructure connected to the G-node B in the network. And we have functions running on UEs and G-node Bs. For example, we have function 1 running at node A, function 2 running at node B, and function 3 running in the G-node B in node D. With current architectures, we have a central controller / orchestrator, call it whatever you want, that is basically managing, responsible of the control, the lifecycle management, and the control of the SFC. And the motivation for this work was some solutions that we are exploring, in which, in addition to this central controller, we may have what we call pseudo controllers, but basically is other entities that are capable of also controlling the SFC. And one of the things that these controllers may do is detect the need of moving a function to another node. For example, in this scenario, if node A, B, and C are moving away from node D, function 3 that is used by this SFC may not be reachable anymore, and we need to migrate that function 3 to another node, for example, node C in the UEC. So this is the motivation for having a mechanism that allows to move functions, migrate functions in SFC. And our approach or our proposal is to extend MobileIP v6 mechanisms with new messages for this specific purpose, that is moving a function, which is something similar to moving a host, but not the same thing, because here we have that the node that is triggering the movement may not be the node that is moving itself, and we don't have like central entities like a home agent or an LMA. So basically the scenario is different. I don't want to go into the details because, again, my idea for this presentation is to see whether you think that this may be of interest of DMM. I want to present this kind of work also in SFC, but SFC didn't meet for the last couple of ITF meetings. But the idea is that we extend the Mobile IPv6 to support this kind of mechanisms. In the draft, we define different mobility headers. So one is service path update and the acknowledgement. So basically, this is like kind of a binding update thing for moving a function within SFC. And we also need some new mobility options to identify the network service and to identify the functions that we are moving. So again, I will not go into the details. So my request here is basically to ask people for feedback on the mailing list and regarding if you think that this problem is of interest. And this is part of an overall solution, because for doing this kind of distributed SFC control, we need other things. And there are a set of companion drafts that are listed there for interested people to check. That's it. I would like just to call for feedback whenever you have time, if you think that this is maybe of interest for you guys.
Thanks, thanks, Carlos. So, not be able to line up any questions, but one comment is typically LMI is with the policy and gets a service information, service chain information, right? Do you need protocol extension for this?
Yeah, because I mean, there is no control mechanism, no protocol for control defined in SFC yet. So my proposal is that if they go into this, if they go into standardizing protocol extension for SFC control that is not specified by SFC, I believe that for mobility, for lifecycle management operation related to mobility of functions, I think that we could reuse Mobile IP as a control protocol for that. That's the proposal. So they need to do this if they want to standardize this kind of SFC control. That is, they haven't done yet that.
Sure. Thanks. I think let's take the list. I think unfortunately, we are running out of time. We should have given a 2 hour slot, but somehow we picked a 1 hour slot this time, and that was not. And Thomas' presentation we could not take, and also the discussion we could not complete it. Sorry about that. All right, that's the Sadhu, you want to say anything? Or Eric, last one, two.
Nothing to do. Maybe I have more quarantine reading to do.
Not clear, Eric. Come a little closer.
Yeah, sorry, nothing from me.
Okay.
Lots more reading to do.
Okay. Thanks everybody. This is the end of the WM working group. Thank you. Thanks everybody for attending this meeting. I think we have AIs, and I will follow up with the list. Okay. Thank you.